Hello my dear students, in this lecture we are going to understand piezoelectric transducer. Again it is called piezoelectric pressure sensor. It is one of the type of pressure sensor which uses the piezoelectric effect for the pressure sensing. Now let us understand. See, this piezoelectricity was developed in 1880. And my dear students, piezoelectric transducer uses piezoelectric effect to convert pressure into electrical signal. Now already we have seen transducer is a device which converts any quantity into electrical signal, right? And here this piezoelectric transducer is converting pressure into electrical signal, but the effect used is piezoelectric effect. Here for the conversion of pressure into electrical signal in case of piezoelectric transducer is nothing but called piezoelectric effect. So my dear students, here we have to understand what exactly piezoelectric effect means. Now to understand this piezoelectric effect, let us understand. Let us say we have axes. Let us say this is a y-axis, vertical axis is a y-axis, and here horizontal axis is a x-axis. These are the two different axes, and definitely angle between x-axis and y-axis is always 90 degree, right? Angle between these two axes is 90 degree. And let us say if I call y-axis as a mechanical axis, you can call x-axis also as a mechanical axis. Now when to call mechanical axis and electrical axis, that I will explain, don't worry about that. Let us say right now I am saying y-axis is my mechanical axis, right? It is a mechanical axis, and then the perpendicular axis to the mechanical axis is called electrical axis. So x-axis will be electrical axis in case of piezoelectric effect. Now here along mechanical axis the force or pressure is applied. Always along mechanical axis means I can say along this mechanical axis force or pressure, force per unit area is nothing but pressure, force or pressure is applied. And when your force or pressure is applied along mechanical axis, then the electric field is generated along electrical axis. Therefore along x-axis we will get or generate electrical field, right? Electrical field is generated along electrical axis, and mechanical axis and electrical axis are always perpendicular to each other, and the effect is called piezoelectric effect. Don't worry, this effect we are going to understand in detail, right? Now my dear students, it is observed that certain crystals exhibit a piezoelectric effect, such as certain crystals, let me write this, certain crystals exhibits this piezoelectric effect, such as like quartz. You have to remember these names, like quartz. Now the components made with the help of quartz exhibit the piezoelectric effect. When your force or pressure is applied along y-axis, then electrical field is generated along x-axis. Then Rochely salt, here spelling is written, write down properly. Rochely salt exhibit the piezoelectric effect. Ceramics, all ceramics exhibit the piezoelectric effect. These are certain crystals or materials which exhibit the piezoelectric effect, and piezoelectric effect is nothing but when your force or pressure is applied along the mechanical axis, then perpendicular to this axis there will be a generation of electrical field. So let us write down piezoelectric effect. Piezoelectric effect says that if we apply pressure along a certain axis, now the application of pressure axis is called mechanical axis. Therefore if we apply pressure along a certain axis called mechanical axis of a crystal, then equal and opposite charges are developed. Charges are developed means electric field is developed. Then equal and opposite charges are developed along the perpendicular axis, and perpendicular axis is called here electrical axis of a crystal. And my dear students, the magnitude of these charges is directly proportional to the pressure. Always the charge produced, whatever may be the charge produced, is directly proportional to the pressure, right? So my dear students, let us understand diagrammatically. Let us say if I consider one 3D diagram, let us say this is my crystal, this is my three-dimensional crystal. Now let me show the all three axes, right? Now my dear students, here let us say along this y-axis if I apply pressure, pressure is always compressive, therefore the pressure is applied like this. Let us say this is how the pressure is applied. Along y-axis we are applying the pressure. Means for pressure calculation, what will be the area, force per unit area? This top area we have to consider, this shaded area with red color, is the area for pressure calculation, and let us say this is a force applied, force, and this is the area on which the force is applied. So my dear students, what will be the pressure here? The pressure will be equal to force per unit perpendicular area to the force, right? Perpendicular area to the force, and therefore this vertical axis is called mechanical axis. In this case, I can say this axis is nothing but here mechanical axis, because along this axis we have applied pressure, right? Along this axis, as we have applied pressure, therefore the same axis is called mechanical axis, right? And my dear students, because of this application of pressure here along this perpendicular axis to this mechanical axis, the electrical charges are produced of equal magnitude. Means one side there will be a positive charge, another side there will be a negative charge. Equal magnitude means electrical charge is nothing but one is positive charge and one is negative charge, right? So my dear students, let us say on this face, let me highlight this face with blue color. Now on the face highlighted with blue color, let me highlight this. See this face, on this face and on this face, both side, this is left side face and right side face. Let us say if on left side face the charge produced is positive, here on this face the charge is positive, then on right side face the charge will be negative. Equal and opposite charges are produced like this, charge will be negative. So my dear students, this axis, along x axis the charges are producing, therefore the x axis is called electrical axis. Here this will be our electrical axis. So in simple language we can say, because of this application of force the mechanical axis deforms, right? Because of application of force, can I say because of this compression there will be a contraction in mechanical axis, that is y coordinate will change or decrease. Here I will write due to pressure, due to force, mechanical axis deforms. If it is compression, for such a type of loading the mechanical axis will contract, right? And the charges are produced like this, and electric field, or simply we can say E field. For electric field we can write E field also. Electric field is generated along electrical axis, right? And such effect is called piezoelectric effect. Now my dear students, the reverse of piezoelectric effect is also possible. Here input was force or pressure, here we have applied pressure along mechanical axis and the electric field or charges are produced on the electrical axis. The reverse can be also done. The reverse of piezoelectric effect is useful for the production of ultrasonic waves. See, reverse is if I apply potential difference along the electrical axis, then automatically the dimensions will change along the mechanical axis. And one more important point that I want to tell you, that here I have applied compressive forces. Because of this mechanical axis is going to contract and the positive charge is produced on left side and negative charge on right side. If I change the direction of force, instead of here compressive force, if I apply tensile force, then what will happen? Let us say in this case, if I apply tensile force, let us draw this similar element. Instead of compression, if I apply tension, then the polarity will change. Means positive and negative will change, but electric field will generate, definitely generate, right? Let us say here if I apply forces like this, because of these forces the mechanical axis will enlarge, or the dimension of mechanical axis will increase, and this electric charges direction will change, the polarity will change. Means there will be a positive charge or positive electricity, positive charge on the right face, and there will be a negative charge on the left face, right? Only there will be a change in polarity, but yes, definitely there will be a generation of electric field. Again, that means in simple ways we can say, whenever there is a elongation or contraction along the mechanical axis, there is always a generation of electric field along the electrical axis. Now we can say the reverse of piezoelectric effect is also true. That is, potential difference is applied across the two faces of crystal along the electrical axis. See, for this crystal, if I apply potential difference, that is positive charge and negative charge is nothing but potential difference, right? Now then along this electrical axis, if I apply potential difference, then change in dimension of the crystal is observed along the mechanical axis. Along this mechanical axis, there will be a change in dimension. Change in dimension means either it may be a contraction or it may be a expansion. In first case, you have seen contraction. This is a contraction. And in second case, you have seen expansion. Now, my dear students, if I go on changing continuously the polarity, that means if I apply alternating current, if I give AC supply, alternating current, means sometimes on left face there is a positive charge, then there will be a negative charge. Positive, negative will change. Means here on this face there will be a positive for some time there will be negative. On this face sometime for the positive and for some time it is a negative. Alternately there will be expansion and compression or expansion and contraction, and because of this, my dear students, vibrations are generated. Because of this, vibrations are generated, right? And due to these vibrations, the sound waves are generated. Due to these vibrations, the sound waves are generated. And my dear students, whenever the frequency of this vibration matches equal to natural frequency, then we will get the ultrasonic waves, right? Whenever we will write here, if frequency of vibration becomes equal to natural frequency, then we will get ultrasonic waves. And my dear students, whenever frequency of vibration becomes equal to natural frequency, then the condition is called resonance. Such a condition is called resonance condition, right? Therefore, I will write this condition is a resonance condition. So my dear students, let us understand the piezoelectric transducer as a ultrasonic generator. Here we have to generate the ultrasonic sound or ultrasonic waves. So how this piezoelectric transducer is used? See, here we have supplied the power supply. So from here we have supplied the power supply, and to convert this DC power supply into alternating current, into AC power supply, here the capacitance and inductance are arranged in parallel. So parallel combination of capacitance and inductance will convert DC supply into AC supply. And my dear students, this AC supply is given to this length EL, to coil EL. For this coil EL, we are giving AC supply. So my dear students, here there is a alternating current which changes its polarity continuously. Alternating current means sometimes positive, sometimes negative on the same terminal, right? And this alternating current is given to the plate A and B. Here there is a plate A and plate B, and between these two plates we have kept one quartz plate. Here you can see inside plate is a quartz plate. I will show with red color. This inside plate, this red plate is a quartz plate. So my dear students, here let us say this is a quartz plate. Now with the help of plate A and plate B, we have supplied this alternating current to the quartz plate. Now therefore here electrical axis will be vertical axis. In previous case we have seen horizontal axis as the electrical axis, but here now electrical axis is vertical axis. Y axis is a electrical axis. Therefore this is a electrical axis, because along this axis we have supplied alternating current. And my dear students, because of this there will be a frequency of vibration, or because of this alternating current, this quartz plate starts compression, expansion, compression, expansion, compression, expansion, and this is alternatively because of alternating current. Therefore there will be expansion, contraction, therefore there will be a sound wave. Sound wave is generated. Here you can see these are the sound waves traveling in the space, and the frequency of vibration of this quartz plate is calculated as F is equal to 1 upon 2 pi under root of L2C. This is a formula to calculate the frequency of vibration. Here L2 is length here and C is the capacitance here, right? So this is a frequency of vibration in hertz. Generally frequency of vibration is in hertz, right? And my dear students, for this quartz plate, let us show this quartz plate outside. The plate is like this, and on this plate we are supplying alternating current through plate A and plate B. We are supplying alternating current, means sometimes on this terminal positive supply, sometimes negative, positive, likewise. And my dear students, let us say the thickness of this quartz plate is T. T is thickness of quartz plate, Let us say Young's modulus is y. Y is Young's modulus. These all modulus already you have learned in physics 1. And let us say for this quartz plate density is rho. Rho is density of quartz plate. And my dear students, this quartz plate will be having its own natural frequency of vibration. This EF is a frequency of AC current. This EF is a supplied frequency of AC current. Because of this quartz plate is vibrating with frequency EF. But this quartz plate will be having its own natural frequency. And my dear students, the natural frequency EFN of the quartz plate is calculated as 1/2T under root of Y by rho. This is a formula to calculate natural frequency of quartz plate, right? Which is also called fundamental frequency. This natural frequency is also called fundamental frequency in hertz. And my dear students, whenever this frequency of AC supply matches with this natural frequency, that means whenever this supplied frequency EF becomes equal to natural frequency of vibration of the quartz plate, then such condition is called resonance condition. And whenever resonance condition occurs, then here we can say the ultrasonic waves are generated. These are the ultrasonic waves. Ultrasonic waves are generated, and these sound waves are traveling into the space with maximum amplitude. At resonance, there is always maximum amplitude of vibration of any wave. Now my dear students, this ultrasonic sound is very much important for the distance measurement. So let us understand the application of ultrasonic sound for the measurement of distance. Now here the principle of echo sounding is used for the measurement of distance with the help of ultrasonic sound. Let us say here we have quartz plate. Let us say this is our quartz plate. Now my dear students, for this quartz plate, here we are applying AC supply. So this supply will be a AC supply, alternating current. And because of this AC supply, there will be expansion contraction in this quartz plate. So my dear student, due to this expansion contraction, this quartz plate will generate the ultrasonic waves or sound waves. Whenever the frequency of AC supply matches with natural frequency of this quartz plate, then the sound waves generated are ultrasonic sound waves that already we have seen. Let us say these are the sound waves or ultrasonic sound waves at natural frequency or at resonance. Now whenever, let us say I want to measure distance of any object. Let us say here there is one object. This is any object which is placed at distance. Let us say this is a distance of object is d from the device or the person standing here. Let us say one person is standing here, right? And now my dear students, from this person the object is at distance d. Now we know that this ultrasonic sound is traveling with some velocity. Now this sound velocity we can calculate. Let us say the velocity of sound is v. Here v is velocity of ultrasonic sound. V is velocity of ultrasonic sounds traveling towards the object. Now whenever this ultrasonic sound strikes on this object, now this ultrasonic sound will return its direction. Therefore the motion will be like this. See, whenever it strikes on the object, it will return its direction, and the return is called echo. This return direction is called echo. Now my dear students, now whenever this ultrasonic sound returns, again we will measure the time taken to return the distance, right? Here we can measure the time. Here the time when ultrasonic sound started to travel from this person to the object and again coming back to the person means, my dear students, here this total time is called t. Total time to return to the person. Total time taken by the echo to return to the person, right? So my dear students, already we know that here now total distance traveled is, here distance traveled is 2d. One is forward pass and return pass. Therefore we know that the velocity is nothing but distance traveled, that is 2d divided by time taken. So my dear students, here 2d is equal to v by t. From this we can calculate distance is equal to, here velocity of sound in the medium divided by 2 into time taken to return this sound in the form of echo, right? This is how we can calculate the distance. So everything I will write in the wording form. So whatever I have dictated here, same I have written. The ultrasonic beam transmitted towards the object, and whenever this ultrasonic beam strikes the object and gets reflected from the object, using the time taken by the beam to travel towards the object and return back, the distance of the object can be determined. And generally we have three types of applications that we have to learn in our syllabus, that is detection of flaws in metal. Now with the help of this ultrasonic sound we can detect the flaws in metal, which is also called non-destructive testing, NDT method, non-destructive testing method. Again we have application in sonar. Sonar is nothing but sound navigation and ranging. Again third is to find the depth of sea. Sonar is nothing but sonar, again sound navigation and ranging method is used, or this technology is used to find the depth of sea. So let us understand these applications one by one. Now let us understand the first application, that is determination of flaws in metal, that is with the help of non-destructive testing with the help of ultrasonic wave. Now let us consider one component without defect. Flaw is nothing but defect. Let us say this is one component. Here we can say flaw is nothing but defect in the component. Now let us say this is a component without defect, and let us say here we have one ultrasonic generator. This is ultrasonic generator which will generate the ultrasonic sound. Now from this end, this ultrasonic sound generated will travel towards this end. This ultrasonic sound will travel towards this end. Now there will be some time required for traveling of this ultrasonic sound. So if I draw the graph here, if I draw graph on CRO, let's say this is a CRO. On this CRO, from this end, this ultrasonic sound is traveling. Here on this axis there is a time, right? This wave is traveling, right, and strikes on the other end, strikes on the other end. Now my dear students, after striking on the other end, let us say this is a X transmitted pulse. This X is transmitted pulse. X is called transmitted pulse. Now once this pulse strikes on the other end, it will get reflected back, that is in the form of echo. Therefore this will get reflected back in the form of echo, right? Therefore this is called reflected wave. Reflected wave. So my dear students, again for the return it will take same time as that of this transmitted pulse. Therefore my dear students, during return, if I draw graph, the graph will be somewhat like this. Just a minute, I will show this axis little bit longer so that easily we can identify this, right? So my dear students, the graph will be somewhat like this. Let us say this Z is a, let us say this is Z. Z is a pulse reflected from the other end. Pulse reflected from other end, right? And this is without the defect. So what happens if there is a defect inside? Let us consider one defect inside. Let us say this red color is a defect inside or flaw inside, right? It is a defect inside. Now my dear students, while this ultrasonic wave or ultrasonic sound is traveling towards this defect, now whenever this ultrasonic sound strikes on the defect, it will reflect from the defect only. So my dear students, here whenever ultrasonic sound traveling towards defect, it will reflect from the defect. So in the process it will travel lesser distance, and as it is traveling lesser distance, it will come back in short duration of time. So my dear students, the time duration will be very less to return. Therefore from X, let us say this Y, let us say this Y is a pulse reflected from defect. Pulse reflected from defect, right? It will reflect in very short duration of time, right? Therefore on this axis it is a time. See, you can see the time required to reflect the pulse from the other end is this much at this time, but the time required to return the or reflect the pulse from the defect is lesser as compared to this, right? Therefore my dear students, with the help of these we can identify the location of defect, and we can identify, yes, there is a defect present. And very important point is that my dear students, to identify this defect, we are not breaking this component. This component is not broken into two pieces to identify this defect. Without breaking this component, we are identifying this defect. Therefore it is called non-destructive testing. as there is no harm for the component, therefore it is called non-destructive testing. Now let us understand the second application, that is sonar, that is sound navigation and ranging. This sonar is very much important in military and defense operations. See, here we have one ship. In this ship there is a sonar, right? Sonar is a sound source and also receiver of sound. Here there is a sound generator as well as receiver of sound. So my dear students, from this location, in all possible directions sound wave is generated, and this sound wave is traveling in forward direction. And whenever any submarine or any fish or any other object comes in between the sound wave, then this sound wave will strike on the other submarine, and from this location it will reflect back. Now we will calculate the time taken to reflect the sound wave, and with the help of this time we can calculate the location of this submarine or distance from our ship for that particular object we can calculate. See, very simple technique. What we are doing, only here there is a ultrasonic sound generator. So this ultrasonic sound generator will generate sound in all possible direction, and whenever this sound is traveling, sound wave is traveling, whenever this sound wave strikes on any other object, then it will get reflected back, and we will calculate the time taken to return this sound wave. And with the help of this time, because we already have the speed of this sound wave in this particular medium, on the basis of speed and time taken, and here my dear students, with the help of this distance traveled by the sound wave, the half of the distance traveled by the sound wave is nothing but the distance or location of the particular submarine. This technique is very much useful in defense operations. See, here also in many movies you might have seen such type of screens. On screen it is shown like this. This is a source which sound wave is generated in all possible directions. Now in all possible directions sound wave is going. Now whenever it strikes on the objects, it will reflect back. Now my dear students, depending on this we can identify the location of this particular object, and this technique is very much useful for our military operations. Now my dear students, let us understand the third application, that is to find the depth of sea. Let us say this is a ship floating on the sea surface, and here this is a water, and this is a bottom of sea. This line is bottom of sea, and here there will be one transmitter. This is a sonar only, right? It is a sonar only. Now here there will be a transmitter. Transmitter will emit the ultrasonic sound waves in the direction of bottom of sea. These ultrasonic waves are traveling towards the bottom of sea, and from the bottom of sea these ultrasonic waves will get reflected back. These are reflected ultrasonic pulses, and there will be a receiver. Sonar means there is one transmitter and one receiver, right? These ultrasonic waves are received at the receiver. Now here the depth is nothing but, let us say the depth is d. Let us say the depth is d. Now here the distance traveled is d, then coming back distance traveled is d, means total distance traveled is 2d. Here total distance traveled is 2d, and to travel is total distance, time taken is t, and which is nothing but velocity of sound, which is nothing but the velocity of this ultrasonic sound, right? Velocity is distance traveled divided by time taken na. Therefore the depth of c we can say is equal to vt divided by 2, where v is the velocity of sound, v is the velocity of ultrasonic sound, right? T is a time taken to receive the signal, time taken to return the echo, or time taken to return the reflected ultrasonic sound waves, right? And here, so my dear students, see this c here, velocity of sound changes as medium changes. The velocity of sound always changes as the medium changes. You know that the velocity of sound, if medium is air, is nothing but 340 meter per second. But this is the velocity of sound in air. So, and let us say v0 is velocity of sound in pure water. v0 is velocity of sound in pure water, right? At 0 degree Celsius. At 0 degree Celsius. Now my dear students, here the velocity of sound in sea is calculated as v0 plus 1.14 s plus 4.21 t minus 0.037 t square. Now there is no need to remember this relation, because in examination if they ask you numerical on this, they will provide this relation, where v is the velocity of sound in sea water, v0 is the velocity of sound in pure water at 0 degree Celsius, s is nothing but salinity of the sea water, because sea water is a salty na, there is a salt contained in the sea water, therefore s is a salinity of sea water, and T is the temperature of seawater in degree Celsius. This is how we can calculate the velocity of sound in seawater, and with the help of this velocity of sound in seawater into time taken to return the signal, Vt divided by 2 is the depth of sea, and Vt is nothing but twice the depth of sea, because here sound is traveling from top to the depth and again coming back from the depth to the top. Means total distance traveled is by, that means total distance traveled by the sound is 2d. Now my dear students, let us understand the one more very important application of ultrasonic sound is for the measurement of velocity of liquids and gases. So write down applications of ultrasonic transducer to measure the velocity of liquid and gases. Now my dear students, an ultrasonic flow meter. Now here we are using ultrasonic flow meter for the measurement of velocity of fluids. And what is the fluid? Fluid is nothing but liquids and gases. Liquids and gases are called fluids, right? So my dear students, an ultrasonic flow meter measures the velocity of fluids with the ultrasonic sound to calculate volume flow. That is, volume flow means what is the mass flow rate. If I get velocity, I can calculate the mass flow rate as well as volume flow rate. Now here, let us understand what terminology I will use. Let us say I have one pipe. Let us say this is a pipe, right? This is our pipe through which fluid is flowing. Any fluid, it can be a air or it can be a liquid also. And let us say the flow of fluid is from left to right. And here I will consider V is the average velocity of fluid. V is average velocity of flowing fluid. Flowing fluid. And my dear students, here the direction of flow is from left to right. This is very important. Now here what I will do, I will keep two transducers. Here there will be a transducer T1. This is a transducer. Let us say this is a transducer called T1, first transducer. And as well as there is one more transducer on this side. Let us say the another transducer is T2. This is again a transducer. Let us say this transducer is called as T2, right? And my dear students, let us say the distance between the both transducer is L. Here this inclined distance between the transducers is L, right? Now these are our some assumptions. And my dear students, this complete arrangement is called ultrasonic flow meter. So here I will write, it is a ultrasonic flow meter. Flow meter. Now let us understand how this ultrasonic flow meter is used for the measurement of velocity of any fluid. Now here transducer T1 and transducer T2 both are acting as the emitters of ultrasonic sound, as well as both are acting as the receivers of ultrasonic sound. Now initially, let us say this transducer T1 acts as the emitter of ultrasonic sound, and this transducer T1 emits the ultrasonic sound towards transducer T2. Now let us say the velocity of ultrasonic sound is u. Let us say the velocity of ultrasonic sound traveling towards T2 is nothing but u. This velocity I will assume as u. Therefore here, my dear students, u is velocity of ultrasonic sound, right? And my dear students, v is average velocity of the fluid. We have seen average velocity of flowing fluid. Average velocity of flowing fluid. Now my dear students, whenever this transducer T1 emits the ultrasonic sound towards transducer T2, now the distance traveled is L, and let us say this inclination is theta. Here my assumption is this inclination is theta. Therefore this inclination is also theta, right? Now let us say small t1 is time required to travel from transducer T1 to transducer T2, right? So from this location to this location we need time T1, right? Now my dear students, so what is the net velocity along this direction? See, you can see the sound is traveling with velocity u in this direction, and this v is in this direction, and angle between them is theta. V is the average velocity of the fluid. Now the component of this v along this direction, can I say the component of this v along this direction will be equal to v cos theta. Therefore here the sound velocity u as well as the component of fluid velocity along this direction v cos theta are in same direction. Therefore net velocity for the travel, therefore initially for first case net velocity for the travel, v net, we can say v net in first condition is nothing but u plus v cos theta, because both are in same direction, they will get added definitely. So my dear students, to travel distance L, we need time t1. Therefore what will be the v net 1? Net velocity 1 will be equal to distance is L, time taken is t1. Therefore my dear students, from this can I say this u plus v cos theta will be equal to length divided by time taken t1. This time taken t1 can be recorded with very easily, right? Let us say this is our first equation. This is my first equation. Now in second case, what I will do, now I will make this t2 as a emitter and t1 as a receiver. So in second case, here sound wave is generated from transducer t2 and it is traveling towards transducer t1. Let us assume this second case. So in second case, the direction of velocity of sound is reversed. This velocity will become in this direction, right? So my dear students, here again angle is same, angle is theta only, angle is not going to change. Therefore if I consider this point, see at this point or any point, you can consider any point at this point, the velocity of the average velocity of the fluid is v and u is here. This velocity of sound is in this direction. So my dear students, the velocity of flow or fluid along the direction of this length L will be equal to, this angle is theta, therefore this v cos theta, this component is v cos theta. Now this velocity of flow along the direction of travel of distance L is in the opposite direction to the velocity of sound. Therefore what will be the net velocity in second case? For second case, v net in second case will be equal to u minus v cos theta. Definitely they are traveling in opposite direction, therefore it will be u minus v cos theta. And let us say t2 is the time taken to reach the from t2 to t1. Let us say t2 is time required to travel from transducer t2 to transducer t1, right? So my dear students, can I say this v net 2 will be equal to distance traveled again is L. Therefore this v net 2, which is nothing but u minus v cos theta, will be equal to distance traveled divided by time taken is t2. Now let us say this is our second equation. Now we got two equations here. Now let us subtract second equation from first equation. So basically these are the two equations already we have seen the diagram. Now here if I subtract second equation from the first equation, if I take 1 minus 2, then what I will get? 1 is u plus v cos theta minus 2 is u minus v cos theta. This is the left side is equal to, the right side will be equal to 1 is L by T1 minus left side, and equation 2 is L by T2 for the right side, right? Again this v minus v will get cancelled. Here minus minus will become plus, it will become 2v cos theta. Therefore the left side will become 2v cos theta is equal to, here L divided by, see my dear students, if I cross multiply here, if I cross multiply, then what I will get? L T2 minus L T1 divided by T1 T2. Therefore my dear students, 2v cos theta is equal to L in bracket T2 minus T1 divided by T1 T2. So from this let us simplify for v. So here I will calculate now v. See how we are calculating v. Simply we are taking all these 2 cos theta terms on this side. Therefore the equation will become v is equal to L divided by 2 cos theta into T2 minus T1 divided by T1 T2. And here the angle inclination we have, because we have only set the transducer locations, the length already we have, and times we will measure to return the sound wave, right? Times we will measure. So my dear students, accordingly we can find the average velocity of flow in the liquid as well as gaseous medium. Thank you dear students. In next lecture we will see numericals on this topic.